Hello guys, Julia here, and I want to show you today how I watercolored a night scene. I had no idea if I could pull it off, but I figured, you know what, yellow circle, blue background, I should be able to do that. I will also be working with this My Favorite Things stamp set, but first of all, here is what I prepared. I have a card base, a strip of colored paper, and I'm going to adhere this strip of colored paper to the bottom of my panel. I put some adhesive on the back side of this panel. And then I'll be adhering this to my actual card base, and it's going to hang off a bit, and that's okay because I'll trim it down. But I wanted to have an accent, like a little accent border, and this tiny strip of colored paper really helps in that regard. I'm using my trimmer here to trim off the overhanging edges of the paper, and even though I do miss my large trimmer, which is at least at the making of this video still in storage, the small trimmer is really great if you have to do like fine detail work like here, where it's just a few millimeters that I need to trim off of each side. I'm using just something that I found in my crafty stash here to draw a circle, because I don't have any circle dies. I don't have any tools to otherwise draw a circle. And that's going to be my moon. Before I get started, I'm spraying some Perfect Pearls mist, that is Perfect Pearls mixed with water, into a mini mister on my piece of acetate here, and I'm going to be using that to do my coloring. I'm starting out by wetting the surface of my paper, and then I'm grabbing some watercolor. I'm using my Gansai Tambi watercolors, but you can use any coloring medium that you like, and I'm just very lightly adding color to my moon here, and my goal is to just add a little bit of color. And you can see that I tap with my brush. I'm not using like painting motions, because if you look at close-up pictures of the moon, you can see the surface, like the valleys and the mountains, and that's what I really wanted. I wanted to get this textured impression, and then I'm adding color with a little bit of a darker yellow, and then even a little bit of brown color, but just like like you can see it here, just a tiny little bit, and I'm still using a lot of water to dilute the color so it's not very strong. I put that aside to dry, and then I'm coloring the spaceship that I stamped with the My Favorite Things stamps. For stamping, I nowadays only use the My Favorite Things Licorice Hybrid ink, because that ink is perfect when it comes to working with Copic markers, with watercolor, or with a blending solution for colored pencils. This ink will withstand anything. It will not bleed, it will not feather, it will just work perfectly. So that's why this is my favorite ink to work with. You see here that I'm using several different colors of pink. Try to blend them together, and you can see here that there's a very harsh line towards the lightest pink. So I'm using a flicking motion with my next darkest color towards the lightest color, and then I'm just blending this out softly. So then when I was done with this, it was time to create my background here, and I'm using the same principle, wetting the paper and then grabbing only a little bit of blue color and putting it down here. And it's going to be artistic. Like, I'm not out to like have it doesn't need to be a perfect circle for the moon, it doesn't need to be perfect coverage for the sky. I'm being very loose here, and I'm actually having a lot of fun with that. I am starting out with my lightest blue, and I'm just trying to put down a base coat of color, like just a background, so the area that I want to color is colored. I hope that makes sense. And then once I was done with that, I dried this, and I went in with my darkest blue, and I kind of worked over this. So I've added quite a bit of color, and then I just added water. So now I'm just coming back in with water, and I'm diluting the color and pulling it out. And as interesting as it is, if you have like a base coat of color already down there, like I have, you get a really interesting effect. So it's not like, you're gonna color over this, so you're not gonna see it again. Since watercolors are a little bit translucent when you dilute them, you will be able to see the texture, and you can see it here in the dried state. I'm arranging my sentiment on my card here, and then I'm using my Misty to stamp it. I've come to rely on my Misty really heavily now, and it's a lot of fun actually to be sure that your sentiment's going to be stamped perfectly. And so I just did this here, and I always clean off my stamps right away before I put them back into storage. Then I put a lot of foam tape on my spaceship. I have fuzzy cut it with my scissors because I don't have the dies, and my brother's Scan and Cut is, you know it, in storage. So I'm just adhering this over the moon here. And then of course I had to add some sequins by Pretty Pink Posh. These are the tiny iridescent stars. I think it's even called the it's like confetti, I think it's called in the store. All the supplies will be linked in the video description below. And then I used glossy accents to adhere these stars to my card base here. And yes, it does take a minute or two to do that, but I don't mind. Like, I had fun doing this. Those are just, I find those finishing touches are just like worth the time. Just like I added a little bit of white gel pen to my spaceship here to create the illusion of roundedness and light reflection. It's a tiny little detail, but it can add a lot of impact to a card. And here you can see how those tiny little iridescent stars reflect the light and let the blue shine through from the background, which I also liked very much. And here is the entire card once it was finished. I hope you got inspired today and you see that loose watercoloring doesn't need to be difficult and can be used to create a really nice background. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had fun. Catch you again soon. Bye bye.